Hey, everybody. Wendy Sellers here, the HR lady. I'm here with my co-host, JC.
Wendy Sellers. How you doing?
You know, if you asked me yesterday, I thought I was having a nervous breakdown. And so today I'm doing way better. I was just overwhelmed, put too much on my plate. Shocker, right? And stayed up late, got things done. I plan on burning the midnight oil tonight. So then the rest of the week, I'm not like losing my mind.
I'm in a real bad spot. I can't even lie to you. I've stayed up countless nights on end right now, thinking to myself over and over and over, I need to find someone to talk to very specifically, like an expert who specializes in like tax preparation or payroll or coaching or bookkeeping. I don't even know who to talk to. I got to find someone. If you know anyone out there, please let me know.
Oh, I know this guy. His name is Matt Ramuzzi.
Call him.
And he's with us today as a guest. Hey, Matt, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing? Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, where you calling in from?
I am in Carlsbad, California, which is San Diego, basically, right north of Mexico.
Oh, right. But you grew up or at least were born in New York, right?
I was born in New York on Long Island and moved out to LA when I was a kid. I grew up in LA and then I moved down to San Diego to go to college and I never left because it was too nice.
Yes, San Diego is the perfect weather. Maybe not affordable all the time, but the perfect weather. I'm calling in from Florida. I have got great weather. I can't necessarily complain, but we do have very, very high humidity and mosquitoes. And JC is calling in from upstate New York, who does not have great weather right now.
Yeah, no, it's actually not that bad. I've got a solid 70 degrees outside today, very low humidity. You can see the Canadian shoreline crystal clear. It is not San Diego by any stretch of the imagination, but hey, it's half the battle. We will have a full eclipse coming in a few short weeks, so we're excited about that.
Everybody's talking about that. I can't wait. I don't know if I'm going to be able to see it. I'm doing a lot of traveling. So now after the show today, I'm going to go look that up to see if any of my travels intersect with a really great, viewing spot. So with that said, what I wanted to ask you some questions about, Matt, is you're the owner and the founder of a small business bookkeeping firm that does taxes and more, right? What's the name of it?
CapForge.
Okay. And, that means as a small business owner, then you're also HR and IT, maybe, the coach and the counselor and everything else. How does plain language communication help not only your customers, but your internal team too?
I mean, I think it's really important. I've always said, I never would want to work somewhere that I wouldn't want to be an employee. And having been an employee in the past at lots of places that spoke corporate speak internally and externally, that was just never something, that I wanted to be part of our culture. So I am very much about setting clear expectations internally. This is what I'd like you to do. This is what I'd like you to do it by. So everyone's, clear on what their expectation is. And same with our clients. If they think, we're going to work wonders, we're going to reduce their taxes to zero, we're going to do some kind of magic trick that gets them amazing results at no cost and no risk, then, obviously they're operating under false pretenses. So I like to be very clear, not speak like an accountant, not speak like an IRS agent, but very clearly talk about, this is what we can do for you. This is how we can help. This is what it'll look like. This is what the outcome should be. And if they're on the same page and in agreement, then it's probably going to be a great fit. And if they're not, well, at least I know that they didn't go into it under false pretenses or with, unclear expectations. I heard a while ago that happiness is expectation exceeded, which I think is true, right? People get all geared up. They think New Year's Eve is going to be amazing, right? Just because it's a day of the week and it's going to be, but it never turns out to be. It's always that random Tuesday. You met up with some friends, you went out, you had a great dinner, you had the time of your life. It was nothing special that you went into it thinking it was, going to be. It just turned out to be amazing. And the flip side is also true. If clients come in or people come in and they have these high expectations and they're not met, they're going to be disappointed. Even if you've done a great job, if their expectation was beyond what you're delivering, they're going to be disappointed. So clear language, clear expectations, I think is the key to doing well by your employees and your clients.
JC, what does plain language even mean?
The actual definition, Wendy Sellers, I'll grab that from the Book of Knowledge that's also found on the internets, which was invented by Al Gore and renamed by George Bush. So straight from the internet, it states that plain language is a clear and simple writing style that prioritizes clarity, accessibility, and ease of understanding for all audiences, aiming to avoid jargon and complexity. Interestingly, readers are 38% more likely to understand text written in plain language, and 72% of readers prefer plain language in disclosure documents. Back to you.
I know, I sure do. And when you were talking, giving us the definition of plain languages, the avoiding jargon really, really hit home with me. So for, most of our audience is HR or have the HR hat on some part of the time. And we often hire people into our organization and we're like, oh, my organization's so unique. It usually isn't. There's usually another organization that's similar to you, but your culture might be unique. And you might have abbreviations or nicknames for things, or you may have hired somebody that's never been in your industry before because we don't have a choice anymore. We're having to bring in, people fresh, no matter what age they are, what experience they have elsewhere. And we're just sitting around in a meeting talking about, with jargon, and the new hires just sitting there going, I have no clue what you're talking about. I feel so dumb and I want out. Right, Matt? You ever experience that as yourself or somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, in two ways, right? Our clients are all small business owners, and they don't want to hear from me about debits and credits or journal entries or IRS tax form 1120S. They want to hear, how much did I make? How much do I owe? How much can I save? Right? Plain language. That's what they appreciate. And that's the level they relate to me on. And that's how we try to communicate with them. And by the same token, internally, we do have some things that we use that have a certain acronym or jargon attached to it. But one of the very first things we hand new employees is the glossary that we've created. So when we're in a meeting and we say, oh, that's a TBD list, or this is, an RTS project, they know what that means. And they have a handy guide to be able to be on the inside with us, because it's cumbersome, right, to always just use the long thing and not use acronyms. But we don't want anybody to be lost in the weeds going, I don't know what the hell they're saying, but I don't want to raise my hand and look stupid. So here's a glossary. So you can be on the same page with us right from day one. And it's been very much appreciated by new hires. And I think, again, it's just one of those things that seems obvious after you say it. Why doesn't everybody do that? But I think a lot of people just never think about it. They're so in their own world, it never occurs to them that somebody coming from the outside is going to walk into this wall of acronyms and jargon and technical terms. They have no idea what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, I've got a real quick and simple question for you. I'll keep it plain as well, I promise. This came up recently. Do you know how many accountants it takes to screw in a light bulb?
I don't know how many accountants it takes to screw in a light bulb.
We have to ask the question. How many did it take last year? All right. Anyone get that one? All right. We got a couple chuckles out there.
Gotcha.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay. Going in a different direction. What would be, you've been a business owner for quite some time. It sounds like, you're out doing some other things, letting your company and your employees thrive and strive. What's the biggest piece of advice you can give to another business owner, whether they're in accounting or HR or IT or selling shoes, whatever? What's the biggest piece of advice in addition to using good old plain, easy to understand English or language or whatever language you're speaking? Give us a piece of advice.
I think it's really helpful to lead from the front and to be a person. So lead from the front, meaning I try really hard not to give people the grunt work or the scut work or the, lousy jobs that I don't want, right? I can do anything anyone else here can do. A lot of them can do it better than I can because, we're at 75 people now. So I'm not the best at everything anymore, but I at least know how to do it. I can help them out. I can sympathize if they say, oh, wow, that took me 3 hours. Well, yeah, that sounds about right. As opposed to, why didn't you get it done faster? Well, I used to do that. And I know that's about how long it should take. I think people who lose the respect of their staff or just don't have a quality leadership style are ones that either don't know how to manage because they've never done it, or lose that empathy for, hey, I remember when I used to do that too. That was a kind of a pain in the butt. And, I don't want to give one person all the hard, boring work, right? Let's spread it around and try to use everybody to their best ability. And the other thing about just being a person, I think sometimes it's easy to kind of get up, as we've gotten bigger, right? We've had to get an employee handbook and we've had to put rules in place. And because it's very hard to have everything be a one-off or kind of think of it on the spot when somebody says, this situation came up, I'm like, wow, that's never come up before. What do we do with it? But at the same time, I think it helps to relate to people on a personal level, right? Well, okay, we have a bereavement policy, but I can see from the reaction you're having, this doesn't really apply to you. So if you need a couple more days off, take a couple, as opposed to, well, I'm sorry, it says 48 hours in the book. And that's why you got to be back, or we're going to have to write you up. Right? So don't lose your being a person, your humanity, right? Even as you get bigger, that personal culture, that small business feel is something really valuable. And the people that choose to work in a small business versus a big corporation, part of the reason they've decided to do that, sometimes at the cost of pay or benefits, is because they have that small business feel. So you want to take that away if you can avoid it. You don't want to lose that, relating to people on a personal level that sometimes with corporations, you feel like that's just the way it is. And those are all generally the stories you hear about malicious compliance and, employees doing things because the manager wouldn't listen to what they were saying.
Yep.
That all comes from that stuff. Well, here's the rules. Here's the corporate policy on this or that. And that's what you got to do. Like, yeah, but just be a person for 10 seconds and think about it. And can you, hear what I'm saying? I think if people could do that more, they'd have a lot fewer of those kinds of problems. So that's my off the top of my head advice. Lead from the front by knowing how to do what you're asking other people to do and not being afraid to do it yourself. And then don't lose your humanity as you get bigger. Don't fall into that sort of corporate mind think of, well, these are the rules. That's how we have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. You were mentioned about, maybe go outside the box. You give an example, I believe, of bereavement. And okay, it looks like this person needs more time off or needs more assistance. And that goes back to, seek first to understand, then to be understood, which is by Stephen Covey. And, on a side note here, I was just dealing with this earlier today with a training online. And we're talking about plain language and plain English. The ADA actually says in their law that an individual may utilize plain English without mentioning the ADA for, when they're asking for reasonable accommodation. And the reason I say this is most of our listeners are HR, have the HR hat on because they don't have HR. And so it is so important to put it bluntly, to shut up and listen and really, get to know your people and have that empathy and use the plain language, use the plain English and say, you know what, they're not using those words, but they need help and I'm here to help them. And many of our listeners, again, they're human resources, but they're also the business owner, the business leader, the manager, whoever it might be. HR, the H in HR is human, and we need to learn to be human more, not less. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to recruit. We're not going to be able to retain, and we're not going to be able to have a successful business that we can rely on. Any thoughts to that?
Yeah, no, I definitely think, those are good points. And I think a lot of times the HR department in particular operates from a place of fear of liability. And that's sort of a decision driver of, well, we can't do that. We could get in trouble for this. But that sometimes overrides, again, the sort of the humanity. So I said, look, if it feels like the right thing to do, then I'll do it. And if I, overstep the rule or okay, come get me, right? Like, I don't know. I want to sleep well at night feeling like I was a good person and I did the right thing and not make all decisions based on, well, let me run that by legal.
Right. But, I think JC has something to say too, but I just wanted to say, I agree with you. Just be consistent, right? That's it. Just be consistent so you don't ever get accused of discrimination. So JC, you had something to add?
Yeah, I always thought the H in HR was for happy, but I gotcha. It's human. I understand.
We wish. I think people going into HR think they're going to be happy. They're like, I want to be in HR. I love people. And then shortly afterwards, they're like, we hate people. So, it's because we don't have the support that we need. We don't have the resources that we need. We're thrown into positions without being trained. And this is for anybody, not just HR. It could be accounting, tax, IT, you name it. So it's super important to really grab that mirror and say, am I part in the problem? If I want to attract and recruit or retain in 2024 and beyond, then I need to start treating people like the humans that they are. Even when they're an awful employee, let them, fix their mistakes or remove them from the organization, but in a safe, legal way that is empathetic so that the person could go on and have a career somewhere else and say, hey, you know what, Matt, Wendy, JC, thank you for letting me go back then respectfully, because I actually found out that I did not fit in that career. So I want to thank you for that. And here I have referrals for you, which is going to save on recruiting. So, this has just been great information. I wanted to ask you, Matt, where can our listeners find you if they want to reach out for more information?
Yeah, definitely. The best place to find us is online on our website, CapForge.com. It's got information about our services, about the team, about, pricing even and things like that. And then obviously ways to get in touch with us, our contact form, phone number, LinkedIn, all that good stuff. So CapForge.com is a great place to start. And then from there, if there's further interest, we're happy to have a conversation with whoever it may be.
This has been amazing. I think I could talk to you for a little bit longer. So we might need to have you back another time. To all our listeners, we really hope this information has been helpful. I want to leave you with a quote by Oscar Wilde: be yourself, everyone else is taking. And then I'm just going to say a little asterisk: unless you're a jerk, then be somebody else. Thanks for joining us and take care.